everyone, I'm Alex, the creator of the blog and the brand Eat Cute, and welcome to Dinner and a Movie. Tonight's flick is Knives Out. Knives Out is an American mystery film written and directed by Rian Johnson. It follows a master detective investigating the death of the patriarch of a wealthy, dysfunctional family. For tonight's recipe, there's nothing more delicious, and dare I say dangerous, than a recipe for making death by chocolate cake. Yep, you heard me. Tonight we're gonna be making a chocolate delicious cake, but here's the most mysterious thing about this cake. There's no refined sugar in it. How do you make a cake without any sugar? Tune in more to find out how we solve the mystery of making a chocolate cake without any refined sugar. Let's get started. Getting started, to make this cake, you are going to need a blender or a food processor. You're going to need butter, grass-fed butter, or you can use coconut oil. You're gonna need 4 eggs. You're also going to need almond flour. I added cinnamon. You don't have to use it, but I'm just adding it because I'm feeling fancy. I'm using coconut oil to spray the baking pan. I've also added some cacao chips. First things first, you're gonna wanna preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. You definitely wanna wait for the oven to be hot. We can't put cold things in an oven, okay? That's just not how we do things here, okay? Next, we want to take a baking pan. You can use a cupcake tray if you have that, but something that can go in the oven safely. You're gonna wanna take that and really coat it, because if you don't coat it well, you're gonna have to eat your cake out of this because it's never gonna come out. So I'm using coconut oil. One of the things I love about coconut oil is it's a great oil to bake with because it's got a high smoke point. So what that means is you can cook with coconut oil at high temperatures because it doesn't rot and go bad. Not all oils are great to cook with at high temperatures, like olive oil. That's one that I recommend cooking at low temperatures or just having raw over a salad or some veggies, because when you heat that oil, you really destroy all the fantastic health properties and it starts to rot. So whenever you see like the pan is like really black or brown because of the oil, that means it started to turn and putrefy. So we want to stay away from that. So olive oil, you want to do low heat. Oils that you can do at high heat, like coconut oil, would also be avocado oil, sesame seed oil, or grapeseed oil, or ghee, which is a clarified butter from India. Things you want to cook at lower temperatures are olive oil, butter. I know, that's crazy. You can lightly roast things, but once you see that brown on the bottom of the pan, it's starting to go bad. That's why we're going to be using a coconut oil, which is a high heat oil, for this recipe. Really make sure you coat it good. Wonderful, we're gonna place this aside, and that way that'll give us room when we pour in our chocolate. In our blender, I'm gonna add 1/2 cup of softened butter. So you can either just take a little butter and put it in the microwave for a few seconds, or you can heat it in some hot water and just kind of melt it down. But either way, we want softened butter, so we're doing 1/2 cup of that. And then we're also gonna be using 4 eggs. We're gonna lightly blend this just to kind of get everything mixed. Next, we're gonna add the secret sweetener. Listen closely because this is very secret. Just kidding. So for the sweetener, I'm gonna be using a raw honey. I like raw honey because it hasn't been heated, so a lot of the great health benefits are still in here. Honey is fantastic because it has lots of antifungal and antimicrobial properties, which means it's really good. It's like natural antibiotics. Other sweeteners you can use if you don't have honey or you don't like honey, you can use a little bit of maple syrup. You can use stevia if you want to do 0 sugar. You can use monk fruit if you want to do 0 sugar. You can also use dates. Just make sure you remove the pits because I won't be there to save you if you choke. We're gonna add a tablespoon of raw honey. If you're doing dates, I recommend like 4 or 5, depending upon how sweet you want your cake. And we're gonna add in our raw honey. mix it again. Whoops. The next thing I'm adding in is totally not a requirement. This is just extra brownie points if you're feeling fancy. So one of the things that I find to be very deficient in the American diet is fiber. A lot of Americans are just lacking fiber and are not getting enough of it. And I thought, wouldn't it be fun to put some fiber in your chocolate cake so that way when you're eating it, you're like, oh, this is dessert, this is fun, this is a good time, but also you're getting some fiber and some really great ingredients that are fantastic for your health. So one of the ways I like to get fiber is through acacia powder. Acacia powder is awesome because it's a great source of fiber. You can do a tablespoon or two of it, and it's just a nice way to get in some extra fiber. Very gentle on the stomach, so if you're somebody that has a very sensitive stomach and eating salads and lots of vegetables can sometimes be irritating, this is a nice way to sneak some extra fiber in. It also has no taste, so you won't even know it's there. And it's just really fantastic to just get a little extra fiber. So I'm gonna add a tablespoon and mix that in. And what's really great about acacia fiber too is you can add it to your oatmeal, you can add it to any muffins or baked goods that you like to do, you can add it to a drink, so if you make like a beverage, like a smoothie, or just like, if you want to put it in water, you can. I wouldn't say it's the most fun thing to drink, but mixing it in with beverages is also totally available to you as well. So we're gonna blend. The next thing we're gonna add is our almond flour. If you don't like almonds, or you're allergic to almonds, or whatever your deal is, you can take oats, like from oatmeal, and put it in your blender and blend it till it becomes a powder, and that's oat flour, and you can use that too. What a great way to have oatmeal, right? With this chocolate cake. So we're gonna add a cup. Add it to our blender. Now here is a pro tip about nut flours. So with the nut flour, nuts in general are very sensitive to heat. So in order to preserve the freshness, always store your nut flour or just raw nuts. If you're somebody that likes to take a handful of almonds or walnuts throughout your day, keep them in the fridge in like a tight mason jar and a glass jar, and it will keep them very fresh. You'll be like, what have I been doing my whole life? It just really preserves the oils in the nuts to make them fresh and delicious and yummy and healthy. The next thing we're gonna add is what's going to make this chocolate cake a chocolate cake. So this is raw cacao. Cacao is very different from cocoa. The difference is that cacao ideally is raw, so it hasn't been heated. So all the great health benefits that are found in chocolate are still very much present in this cacao powder. Also, they don't add sugar. So this is just chocolate as is, no sugar, unsweetened. And I love having this in my pantry because I use it to do chocolate smoothies, chocolate cakes, muffins, anything chocolate, raw cacao is your friend. For this recipe, we're gonna be adding a half cup. Now, you can always add more if you really want a dark chocolatey cake, so don't be shy, just kind of taste as you go and make sure it's up to your standards. One of the things that's really great about chocolate is it's rich in magnesium, which is another thing that Americans tend to be deficient in. And magnesium is so important because it does everything. It helps you sleep, it helps give you energy, it helps with muscle soreness, it helps you go to the bathroom. It just does everything. So it's one of those things you really want to have. So we're gonna add that to our blender and we're gonna blend. Next thing I'm gonna add is a little bit of cinnamon. Ceylon cinnamon is fantastic because it's known to help balance blood sugar. A lot of times they've been using it with patients that have diabetes to help balance their blood sugar. And let's be honest, we could all use a little help with balancing our blood sugar. So I like adding cinnamon, specifically Ceylon. And it also is a little bit sweeter than cassia, which is the common cinnamon that you'll find in your local Starbucks or in your house right now. So it's a little bit more money, but I think it's totally worth the splurge, and it's just fantastic when it comes to baking and desserts because it's just so sweet. And we're gonna blend. Fun tip, if you want, this is only if you want, you can add a protein powder to this if you're like, I want to have a chocolate cake with protein in it. Like, this is your mystery. This is your secret. You can do whatever you want. I like protein powders that don't have really strong, horrible taste. So if you have a protein powder that's maybe not the tastiest, I wouldn't add that. But if you have something that's pretty gentle and it doesn't have a strong taste, you can absolutely hide it in your cake. Next, we're going to take the pan that we've greased and we're going to pour the batter in. Now that we poured our mixture into our pan, we're just gonna knock it around a little bit to make sure it comes evenly on the pan. And we're gonna bake this for 18 to 22 minutes. Let's get this in the oven. Now, it wouldn't be a chocolate cake without some yummy, delicious chocolate frosting. For this, I'm using unsweetened cacao chips. This is the same as the cacao powder, but these are in chip form. If you don't have access to these chips, I got these at a place called Trader Joe's. You can also use the cacao powder that I mentioned earlier, and I'm gonna show you how to do it. Follow me to the oven. So what you're gonna wanna do is take a cup of chocolate chips and put them in a pot with 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. You're gonna cook it really slow and on a very low simmer. Then you're gonna wanna add 2 tablespoons of raw honey and slowly stir and mix. Slowly cook the chocolate until it melts. Once the chocolate chips have been melted and the honey has been stirred in, remove from the heat. After 18 to 22 minutes, remove your cake from the oven and allow it to cool for 10 minutes. Let's talk about sugar and why it's so dangerous. There was a study where scientists gave rats the option of cocaine or sugar. Which one do you think they chose? Sugar. Yeah, it's no joke. Sugar is incredibly addictive. Dare I say more than cocaine? If you're somebody that's always craving sugar and just finds yourself binge eating all the time, it's not your fault. It's because they put sugar in everything. And what happens is once your body wants sugar, it continues to crave it. If you're somebody that tends to binge eat a cookie or 2 or 10, then realize that it's not your fault. Sugar is incredibly addictive. It's really hard if you're somebody that's looking to quit sugar or reduce your sugar. One of the ways I suggest is figuring out the foods that you like to eat and making them healthy. One of the ways I recommend is to make a list of your favorite desserts. Write it all down. Now here's the fun part. Then get creative and find ways to make your favorite healthy foods. If you like ice cream, you can take bananas and freeze them and add raw cacao powder and make chocolate ice cream. No sugar needed. If you like chocolate cake, you can take a little honey or dates and sweeten them and make your own fresh chocolate cake like we are tonight. There are lots of ways to get in the kitchen and get creative and make desserts that have fantastic ingredients, that are not addictive, and that actually add to your health. One of the ways I recommend controlling your sugar is going through your pantry and reading through all of the labels. Now here's what makes sugar extra mysterious. There are over 61 different names for sugar. There are so many ways that they hide sugar in products that it makes it really hard for the consumer to figure out if they're actually consuming sugar. One of the ways I recommend is looking at the nutrition label and reading the ingredients. Anything with OSE is sugar. Dextrose, fructose, sucrose, sugar. Agave, marketed as a healthy sweetener that comes from a succulent. No. Agave is super processed. In fact, they say it's just as processed as having high fructose corn syrup. Just know that agave is a villain in disguise, pretending to be a healthy sweetener when it's really toxic and disgusting. There are so many great natural sweeteners available to you. There's monk fruit, which has 0 sugar. There's also stevia, which has 0 sugar. There's fresh fruit like bananas, which can be high glycemic, but it's a lot better than having sugar. You can also use things like dates. Dates are fantastic. Who doesn't love a date? Just remove the pit. Raw honey, maple syrup. These are sweeteners that are not processed, are natural, and are not addictive. So my cake is cooled, and I've taken it out of the oven. Now when I made this cake, depending upon how big of the tray you use, I made it very thin. And I did this purposefully because I wanted to make layers. But if you have a big thick cake, then you're already done. You did it. But we're gonna do a little layer, so I'm gonna try to cut this into a tiny square, like so. And now, here comes the fun part. You're going to take your fudge and you're gonna drizzle it in between each layer, like the glue over the cake to stick the layers together. If you're somebody who likes a hot cake, go ahead and eat it right now. Or if you want your chocolate to get a little firm on the outside, like this little fudge situation going on, you can put it in the fridge for about 15 to 20 minutes and let the fudge firm, and then you'll have a delicious, yummy, dark chocolate shell. Feel free to top your cake with fresh berries. You can add mint, you can add cinnamon, whatever feels good to you. You can absolutely add that as a topping, make it your own, or if you like it just chocolatey, 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 then enjoy. I hope you guys enjoyed making this very decadent death by chocolate cake. It's so easy to make, as you saw. It was really easy, super chocolatey, and it has no refined sugar in there, so it's not something where I'm gonna eat it and then be like rifling around in my cupboard for more sugar. So this is just such a perfect cake to watch with such a fantastic movie like Knives Out.